This is the MAONO PD400X microphone. It looks like it's aimed towards podcasters. It is a broadcast style microphone that actually sounds very nice and doesn't cost all that much money. You can use this on your smartphone. It says it works for Android and iOS. It can be used on tablets and your PC. It can be used with XLR or USB as well, which is very cool. It's got some software to control it, a bunch of VST effects, I guess you call it, built in, and all kinds of stuff. And we're going to cover all that in the video due to the fact that we're going to do a complete software setup once we switch over to USB mode. I'm definitely going to add chapters to this video so you can skip around to the parts you want to see. And make sure you're listening to this on a really good set of headphones. If you're just listening on some cheap speakers or something, you probably won't be able to hear much of a difference, so good headphones are a must. Once we switch over to USB a little later in the video, I'll show you how to set up the software and all that stuff. The software only works when you're using this on USB. We are currently using it on XLR plugged into a Focusrite Scarlett Solo audio interface, and there is no audio editing. That way you get to hear the microphone as it is without any changes. The only changes we're going to make are adjusting the volume to make sure it's at the right level for YouTube. This microphone has a cardioid polar pattern, and this is the frequency response right here. It's got a little bit of a bass roll off and a nice presence boost. So let's talk about build quality. It's an all metal build and it feels very sturdy. Overall, I would say the build quality is top notch. The only thing I really don't like are these knobs. You've got these knobs to tighten the microphone, so when you move it around, it just feels like there's maybe a cheap piece of rubber or something inside there. So on build quality, I give it about 4.5 stars just because I think the knobs could have been a little bit better. In the box, you get a little base that screws on, so you can just screw this right onto the bottom of the microphone and then set it on your desk. I don't really recommend that. This is a dynamic microphone. It should really be about 2 to 4 inches away from your face. It also comes with a big, thick windscreen, so if you're having problems with plosives when you say your P's and you're hearing the microphone pop or something like that, you can throw this baby on there and it will cut out 98% of that. This windscreen actually works very good. And you're probably going to notice when I do say a P or a p sound, you are hearing a little bit of plosive, so I do recommend running the windscreen on this microphone. You also get a USB/USB-C cable in the box, and it comes with a pretty decent XLR cable in the box as well. If you would like to purchase one of these microphones, I'll put some links down there in the video's description so you know where to get one. And I'm going to hand hold this microphone for the rest of the review so you can see if there's any handling noise or anything like that. And let's see how well this microphone rejects noise from the sides, the back, and all that good stuff. So right now we are talking directly into the front of the microphone, and we are going to go ahead and turn the microphone around. Hello, hello, hello. What's up? We are slowly turning the microphone. Now we are turning the microphone more. Hello, hello, hello. Now we've got it over this way. What's going on, guys? How well is that rejecting the noise? We will find out in a minute. And now we got it right back in front of us. So that's how it rejects the noise. Let's go ahead and do a microphone tap test where we tap on the microphone and see if it picks up much resonance. Now I'm going to start typing on my mechanical keyboard to see if it's picking up much keyboard noise. Now we're going to go ahead and do a pulsive test with and without the windscreen. So Peter Piper picked a pack of peppers. Peter Piper picked a pack of peppers. Peter Piper picked a pack of peppers. Peter Piper picked... I think I messed that one up. Peter Piper picked a pack of peppers. Peter Piper picked a pack of peppers. And this is the way the microphone sounds with the windscreen on it. All right, let's see how it sounds at different distances, and let's test the proximity effect. So this is how the microphone sounds when you're right up on top of it. Hello, hello. This is how it sounds when you are on top of it. This is how it sounds about 2 inches away from your mouth. This is the way the microphone sounds about 4 to 5 inches away from your mouth. This is the way the microphone sounds about 6 inches away from your mouth. This is how it sounds a good foot away or so, maybe a little more than a foot. And this is how it sounds an arm length away. I also made a video where I compare this microphone to the Shure SM7B, so at the end of this video there's going to be a couple videos that pop up on the screen, or I'll put some links to those in the video's description as well. And Maono did send me this microphone. They never really asked me to do a review or anything, they just asked if I would like to try one of their microphones. So this is a 100% honest review and sound test. In just a minute we're going to turn this on to the USB mode, and I'm going to show you how to set up the MAONO LINK software, which got a compressor, a limiter, an EQ, and a bunch of other really cool things. The only problem is I need to figure out where I put the USB cable. Okay, so I just opened up the MAONO LINK software, but before we get into this, I'm going to tell you about a bunch of the features this actually has on USB. So first off, it has a compressor, it's got a limiter, you can set the gain, it's got a little bit of an EQ, you can set the headphone volume, you can actually set the mix. So any sound that plays over your PC, you can plug a set of headphones into the back of this and hear it back. So you can actually hear yourself speaking, and you can hear all the sounds that play over your PC. And there's a monitor mix, which is really cool. So you can adjust the knob to hear how much of the PC versus how much of you is coming back in. Now this knob has multiple functions. You can actually tap the knob to change to the different functions. All right, so it's like a three-way knob, I guess you call it. So this is how the multi-function knob works. The first time you tap it, it adjusts the gain of the microphone. The second time you tap it, it adjusts your headphone volume. And the third time you tap it, it adjusts the monitor mix. On the back of the microphone, you will find a little button that adjusts the EQ. You can set it to flat. You can have the bass cut off. You can have the presence boost or the bass cutoff and the presence boost going at the same time. So you can adjust this feature from the microphone itself or from the software. There's also a little mute button on top of the microphone right here. So let's tap that and see how well it works. And I don't know if you heard any clicks or unwanted sounds or anything like that. I'll find out when I play it back, but that's how well the mute button works on the microphone, which is actually really nice. And again, we are currently recording on USB. We are no longer on XLR. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the MAONO LINK software and exactly how to set it up. So the first thing you're going to notice up here on the top left, you have standard mode, which I do not advise using standard mode. We're going to go right to advanced, and I'm going to show you exactly how to set this up to make your microphone sound wonderful. Now, before you get started, make sure you have the microphone set at the distance from your mouth that you're going to be speaking into it at. If you don't do that, these settings will not be set properly. So always set it where you want it first, and then start adjusting the settings. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is there's a little green bar moving as I speak, and you're going to see every once in a while that gets into the yellow. Personally, I don't push it further than yellow. Unless I'm live streaming, then I may turn it up a little bit more when live streaming, but when recording, I never want it to get past the yellow, and then I can boost the volume in the audio editor later. There is no audio editing done to this video other than adjusting the volume to make sure it's at the right spot for YouTube. Now, the next thing you're going to see is the headphone volume adjustment, which can also be adjusted directly from the knob on top of the microphone. And then the next thing after that is the monitor mix. You can also adjust the monitor mix directly from the microphone. The third thing we see is the EQ. So first off, this is how it sounds with the EQ flat. You can also push the little button on the back of this microphone to adjust the EQ. Now we have the high pass filter, which cuts off a lot of the bass. That way, if there's any room rumbles from an air conditioner or a fan or any type of deep rumbly sound, or if you say a P and it makes a pop, that way the person's subwoofer is not going crazy. Next, we have a presence boost. This is the way it sounds with the presence boost that adds a little bit of high end. And now we have the low pass filter or the bass cutoff and the presence boost going at the same time. I like to run the high pass filter, but everybody's voice is different, so you can play around with those three settings and see which one works best for you. So the next thing we have is the gain setting, and that's going to adjust how loud your microphone is. That can also be adjusted right off of the knob on top of the microphone, but I turn that up until I start to see it get into the yellow every once in a while. For me, right about -15, and I've got the microphone about 3 fingers away from my mouth. So that's about where you're going to want to put it, unless you're a really loud talker or you're screaming into the microphone or something like that. Now, the next thing we have is the limiter setting, and I'm going to show you exactly how to set this up. So I'm going to click the little thing, and when that turns yellow, the limiter is turned on. Now I'm going to click the 3 dots right here. So I'm going to set the limiter settings like this. I am going to set the threshold to -2, the attack to 1 millisecond, and the release to 100 milliseconds. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hit confirm. If you get really loud, the microphone will distort, and the limiter is there to help so that doesn't happen. That way, if you get really loud and it flies off the end of the meter and it starts to distort and clip, the limiter is supposed to quickly turn down the volume to keep your microphone from distorting. So right about -2 is where I always set my limiter, and that's exactly the way I would set up the limiter if I were you. Next, we have a compressor, so we're going to go ahead and turn that on. We're going to click the little button there. We're going to hit the 3 dots, and that's going to bring up the compressor settings. The first thing you see is the threshold, and we're going to adjust that in just a minute. So the release, set that to right around 100 or very close to 100. The attack, somewhere between 3 and 10 milliseconds, is usually good on the compressor. And for spoken word vocals, I always set the compression rating to 3:1. There's also this little slider here called maximum, which is supposed to amplify the quieter, the smaller sounds. I notice if I turn that up, things start to get a little weird, so I would probably just leave that one on 1 decibel. So once you have those set, go ahead and hit confirm. And now we're going to adjust the compressor threshold, which is this little bar right here. Now this is very important, so pay close attention to what I'm saying. So what a compressor does is it turns down the louder parts of your voice, so the quieter and the louder parts are all around the same volume. So if you get loud and yell, it's not going to blow out somebody's eardrums. It's going to try and squish the sounds down so they're all around the same level. And if you don't have the threshold set correctly, you're going to have a really bad sounding compressor or a compressor that's not working at all. So watch the little green bar, and I'm just going to go, hey. And you're going to see when I do that, it's in the yellow. And I'm going to adjust the threshold until I see it start to turn that yellow down a little bit. So pay attention to that. Hey. So once I get right about -20 decibels, you're going to notice I'm barely hitting the yellow. But if I get loud, hey, hey, it's not blowing out your eardrums, and it's hopefully, if everything's working correctly, it's not distorting either. So the threshold has to be set according to your speaking volume, your distance to the microphone. If you set it too high, it's going to sound terrible and over-compressed. We're just trying to tame the louder parts. We don't want to do anything to change the way it sounds. The limiter and the compressor are just here to help us get our volumes at the right levels and make a better listening experience. If you set the limiter or the compressor wrong, it is going to wreck the way your stuff sounds. Now, when in the software, watch what happens when I tap the mute button. It definitely indicates there that we are on mute. If you use those limiter and compressor settings and then set the thresholds properly, it's going to be a very big help. And I think the microphone itself processes this. So after we close the app, all those settings we have in there should still be working, and we never have to open that app again if we don't want to. And then we can just use the knobs on the microphone and the little switch on the back or whatever to adjust the rest of the sound. Or you can always open this back up. You can get the same exact app on your phone as well, which is really cool. And you can plug this into your phone and control it from the phone. Now, the one thing I noticed is you might actually want to keep the windscreen on this microphone, because when I say my P's, I do notice even when I have it a little bit off to the side and stuff like that, it kind of catches those P's and makes a little bit of a popping sound. So you might want to use a pop filter or a wind filter. I would definitely recommend it on this microphone. That's really the only major downfall I see, is it does pop a little bit, but the overall sound quality and build quality is very good. Like I said, I don't really love the way the knobs work. The tension on the knobs feels a little bit funny. I think the USB cable it came with could have been a lot longer. It came with a short USB cable, which is adequate, but I would have liked to have seen a longer one. The microphone is packed full of features. It actually sounds extremely good on XLR. I think it sounds very nice on USB, and it sounds very nice when plugged into your phone. At the end of this video, that video will pop up on the screen. That way you can check it out and hear how it sounds on XLR, USB, and your phone all in one video. The video where I compare this to the Shure SM7B will also pop up at the end of this video as well. So if you want to pick up one of these, there will be some links in the description. I think this is usually about a $149 microphone. When you buy this microphone, it comes with a little instruction booklet that does tell you where to download the software. If you're only running this on XLR, you don't need to download the software, but if you're running this on USB, the only way to turn on the compressor and the limiter and stuff like that is to have the software. Most of the controls can be used directly on the microphone itself, but there are a few that can only be used from the software. So bottom line, I think this is a very nice sounding microphone. It is packed full of nice features. The build quality is good. There's a few little flaws, but for the money, so I'm not really sure what you think about it after hearing the sound test, but I'm very impressed with it. It's got lots of cool things going on. You can use it on different platforms, I guess Android, iOS, PC. Really cool microphone, guys. All right, well, that's a review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Check out the links down there in the video's description. Like I said, there's going to be some links on how to get this. There will be a link to a Discord server, some links on how to support the channel, and all kinds of good stuff like that. So definitely check those out. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are amazing. Lightning out. Have an awesome day. See ya.